Right, hello. This will be a video for Drummond, for Gunner. So for this one, I want to start getting into some of the new stuff we're gonna cover. So keep on practicing, cut my lip, keep on practicing. My name is Jonas on your own. But I think we're probably ready to start moving on to Wood, which was one of the songs we chose sort of at the beginning of the semester here. It's a song by Alice in Chains, so I think you guys have been listening to it for a little while. We haven't talked about this song much in class, though. So let's start to get into the drum beat here. This song has a really cool drum beat. This one's going to be a little bit of a challenge, which is great. There's a lot of sort of interesting stuff going on. So first things first, let's get comfortable on our kit. Let's make sure we're in a good practice space, headspace and all. So you'll see here I've got my snare, I've got my cymbals, my setup all ready to go. If you need to pause the video at any point, please feel free to do so. Make sure we're kind of moving forward at a comfortable rate. But moving on here, let's start getting into Wood. So opening drum riff here is pretty cool. We've got kind of a Now, it's kind of loose. There's like some improvisation going on in this intro a little bit. He does a little bit of... He does some little fills in there. I'd like to get us to the point where we're kind of getting as close to the recording as we can in terms of when he does those little things. But first things first, what we have to get down is this kick drum and snare groove. So, pretty cool, pretty recognizable beat. You should recognize something like this. We've heard beats like that before in all sorts of music, but for this one, what I want to kind of do is eventually get to a point, because he's using a lot of toms in this one, so when we have our floor tom in class, and I've got a shirt on mine, that's my tom, I've deadened it a little bit so it doesn't blow out our speakers here, but what we want to do so we want to get to a point where we're kind of using both of those, our floor tom and our kick drum in tandem. Now, those are our two lowest drums on our instrument here, our two lowest sounding tones. So you can kind of get a nice back and forth between the both of them when kind of utilizing both of them correctly. But first things first, let's get this kick drum beat down. So we've got on the bass drum, we've got boom ta. Boom, 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 ta, boom, ta, boom, 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 ta. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So. So we want to get that really locked in. That's going to be hugely important. So we want to eventually kind of build those toms into that riff. So first, work on just your kick drum and your snare. Got to keep that really nice and steady. I know we've talked about using a metronome before a little bit. You might have one, if you're using like an electric kit, you might have one built in. So find a nice steady pace for that and just sort of roll on that groove for a while. If you want to, you can sort of add some fills. But I think this is the first time, at least I've talked about a sort of kick drum groove like this with you. So let's really lock in with that. If you want to, you can add hi-hat. So it's a really fun groove to play, and you'll hear this beat a lot, especially in kind of like hip hop stuff, which is kind of cool that it's used in such like a grungy song here. But you'll hear this beat all over the place. And it's cool to kind of get your foot up to speed with these types of things. Right, so now we've kind of got our foot operating at a little bit of a faster level here, moving forward. We can kind of use that in all sorts of other stuff. We can use that in our fills, we can use that in other songs. You can start incorporating, you know, faster kick drum into everything. So it's sort of a good step to take here. But yeah, practice that. Make sure we're getting that nice and tight. If you want to add some fills. Yeah, so again, work on that kick drum. We want to get to a point where we're starting to add our floor tom. So the floor tom is going to work in sync with our kick drum. So right? And another thing we're doing here, especially for this intro, before we start getting our hi-hat groove involved, let's do those flams. We've talked about flams. Let's use flams on our snare. Every time we're hitting our snare, right? A nice kind of gallop flam, where we're landing with both hands coming down nice and strong. Because this is a pretty like beefy intro. There's a lot of power to it. We want to come in pretty strong. Alice in Chains is like kind of on the heavier side of a lot of things. So we want to be really punching. So again. Right? So let's kind of go back to some of the stuff we've talked about in our lessons before and work on those flams, right? So we want those. So the flams really help with us just giving a lot of power into a nice snare hit. So that'll give that 2 and 4 beat just a lot of pop to it, and like kind of that sort of little hesitated second beat, but just barely. Right? So work on using those flams with this beat. Get that kick drum down. If you need to, just do the kick drum and count to yourself like 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4. One thing I always do is if you're having trouble with a beat, start from the bottom up, work on the kick drum, make sure you get that down, add your snare, and then you can sort of start adding hi-hat, cymbals, toms, whatever, into that groove. You can start incorporating it. So continue to work on that. Listen to the song a lot. This one's got a really cool groove. We'll start to get into in the next video how the hi-hat is going to start working and how we're going to start incorporating some fills and different parts and different sections here. So continue to listen to that, work on this groove, and we'll see you in the next video.